Have you ever noticed that the hardest conversations we have are often the ones that never actually happen? We rehearse them. They don't happen naturally. We replay them. We rewrite them. We imagine every possible outcome only to discover that when the moment finally arrives, it wasn't nearly as difficult as our mind had made it out to be. Or maybe you've spent weeks thinking and deciding whether to take this new opportunity or not, leave a relationship or not, start a new business or not, set a boundary, say no, say yes, not because the decision was impossible for you or very, very difficult for you, but because your mind turned one simple choice that you had to make into 100 complicated questions that you put to yourself. Now, here's something even more fascinating. Life, as we all know, is very complicated. But our mind has the habit of making life even more complicated. So, today we are talking about why we complicate simple things and how overthinking, fear, and the need for certainty often creates problems that never really exist. Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Flight to Fulfillment podcast. I'm your host, Ratika Seth, your life enhancement coach and the founder of the Freedom Divas Hub. And today's conversation is something about, you know, what we do without realizing. So we complicate what was never meant to be complicated. For example, it can be a text message whereby we make it as a relationship analysis, a delayed reply that we think it's rejection. One mistake becomes proof that we are not good enough. One opinion becomes a crisis of confidence. One decision becomes a month long mental debate. Our minds are extraordinary problem solving machines. Okay? Our minds are extraordinary problem solving machines. They are designed to scan danger, to anticipate what can go wrong, to prepare us for uncertainty. Now, thousands of years ago, that instinct helped us survive. Okay? Thousands of years ago. But today, it keeps us mentally trapped because threats have changed. We are no longer running from wild animals. We are running from embarrassment, judgment, failure, disappointment. We are scared of making a wrong choice. We are scared of being misunderstood. And in trying to protect ourselves, our minds begin creating complicated stories around simple situations. Actually, think about how much of your emotional energy is spent not on reality but on possibilities. Think about conversations that haven't happened, but in your head they are happening. Problems that haven't appeared, but in your head they are appearing. Criticism that hasn't been spoken about, but in your head you're talking about it. Scenarios that may have not even existed, but in your head, of course, they did exist. So it's very exhausting, not because life is so difficult, but because your mind is not allowing your life to stay simple. Now, I've noticed something very fascinating while working with women over so many years. Women who feel the most emotionally peaceful are not necessarily the ones who have fewer problems. They are emotionally peaceful because they are the ones who have learned to stop adding unnecessary layers to every situation. They ask simpler questions, they make clearer decisions, they accept to not think about what is beyond their control. And most importantly, they stop believing that every answer has to be perfect before they move forward. So, today, let's explore why our minds complicate simple things, what psychological patterns fuel this habit, and how simplifying our own thinking can be one of the greatest acts of emotional freedom for us. So, number one, we mistake thinking for progress. A lot of us believe that if we think about something long enough, we'll eventually have the perfect solution or the perfect answer for it. But that's not true. There's a difference between thoughtful reflection and endless mental looping. Sometimes thinking becomes a way of delaying action, because as long as we are still thinking, still analyzing, we don't have to decide or we don't have to take immediate action. Number two, we want guarantee before we begin. We want to know, oh, will this relationship work? Will this business succeed? Will people approve? Will this be okay if I do this like this? Now, the problem is life will not give you guarantees first, no? The search for absolute certainty creates far more anxiety than the decision that we have to make. Number three, we attach too much meaning to small events. Sometimes, when somebody did not reply to us, we take it as somebody is not interested. We never think that, oh, maybe somebody genuinely did not get the time to reply. So we do this with everything. We attach too much of meaning to little, minute things. If a meeting is rescheduled, a friend is, you know, is not getting time to talk to us. Instead of asking, okay, what's happened or what can be the reason behind it, our mind will, start telling us, oh, what does this say about me? Our event becomes a story. That story becomes our belief. So suddenly, if, for example, a meeting was rescheduled, we've not thought, okay, maybe there's a genuine reason, and ask somebody why this meeting was rescheduled, because our mind is already telling us, oh, maybe you are not good enough for that job, or they did not want to talk to you anymore, and they were not interested in having this meeting with you anymore. We start thinking all this, and our mind gives us these stories, and the story slowly becomes a belief, and suddenly a simple moment feels emotionally overwhelming. Number four, we confuse complexity with wisdom. Now, somewhere along the way, many of us begin to believe that the more complicated something feels, the more important it must be. Wisdom, my dear friends, is rarely complicated. Healthy relationships are the most simple ones. Do you know that? Clear boundaries are very, very simple. Honest communication is the simplest, if you think of it. Self respect is simple. Genuinely, all these things are very, very simple. Okay? It is our mind and it is us who complicate everything. It is our fear that makes simplicity feel very uncomfortable. Number five, we forget that life is lived one choice at a time. So when we look too far ahead, everything feels very overwhelming. Future looks, distant, far away, yet enormous, uncertain, heavy. But life has never asked us to, to solve everything maybe for the next 10 years. Life, happens gradually on a daily basis, on an hourly basis. So life is only asking us to take the next honest step forward, not think about something 10 years down the line and think, oh my God, you have to manage this after 10 years. And often that step that life is asking us to take, which is just the next step, is simpler than what our mind asks us to believe. So it's all about the mind games, as they say. Our mind plays games with us. Well, that's it for today. If today's episode resonated with you, I want to leave you with this thought that not everything that feels complicated actually is complicated. Sometimes the complication exists only because of all these stories that we've created around a particular situation, all the what ifs that we create. So next time you're overthinking something, instead of asking what's the perfect decision, just ask yourself, okay, what's the one honest thing that I should be doing? Instead of what if everything goes wrong, ask yourself, okay, what is true right now? And that will help you make the right decision. Because peace comes not from having all the answers, peace does not come from a point of fear. Peace comes from learning to stop asking questions that life is not expecting you to answer right away. The most emotionally free people I know are not the ones who've eliminated uncertainty, are not the ones who don't have any problems. There is nobody who has a problem free life. But the most emotionally free people I know are the ones who have stopped trying to control every possible outcome. So today I want you to notice just one place where you've been making life harder than it needs to be for yourself. On that note, this is me, Ratika Seth, your life enhancement coach, signing off for now, but asking you to like, comment, and share this episode with whoever needs to hear this today. And don't forget to subscribe to the Flight to Fulfillment podcast on either YouTube or Substack or Apple or Spotify, wherever you're more comfortable, so that you don't miss out on a single dose of inspiration coming your way. And if conversations like these speak to your heart, I warmly invite you to join our growing community, the Freedom Divas Hub, where women actually learn to be themselves. Women learn to quiet the mental noise, strengthen self trust, and build lives that are rooted in clarity and authenticity. Until next time, choose clarity over confusion. Choose trust over endless analysis, and remember that life becomes lighter the moment you stop carrying problems your mind has invented before reality ever did. I'll see you the next time. Bye bye.